Okay. And then we're gonna go here. We're gonna go here. I talk to myself when I do this. Live on
Always talk to yourself.
live on Facebook.
Lead yourself.
Your video.
I do it all the
To
time.
feed. Share to a page you manage. Cosmic Oracle show. I do just do this, don't I? Okay, next.
Okay, I'll be back.
Okay.
Okay. 5 minutes?
Yeah. We're good.
Okay.
For financial advice. If you need a doctor, call us. If you need to be expanded, call the Cosmic.
Hello and welcome everyone to the Cosmic Oracle Show. This is your host, Barbara Jean Lindsey. We are coming to you live from Sierra Madre, California. It's like 75 degrees here today. It's gorgeous summer day. And we want to thank you for tuning in today. Boy, this is our 6th year. I can't believe this. This is our 6th year of our show every Friday from 5 to 7 LA time. And we're bringing you these amazing guests. And today I have one that is just extraordinary. I'm so glad she did this. You'll know why. You're going to know all about her before the end of the show. We have Z Budapest with us today. And we're just really honored to have her on the show because her life is really an amazing, extraordinary life. She has so much wisdom to share with you. It's going to be such a delight. So before we bring her on, I would like to thank you for giving generously to freedomslips.com or to Revolution Radio all these years to keep us on the air. We are an all volunteer station. And what that means is no one gets paid for this. It's all up to you to give donations to keep the lights running and the computers going and everything humming. So the way you can do that is to give donations to Revolution Radios, to go to freedomslips.com. That's freedomslips.com. Give whatever you can, $5, $10. We have a Patreon account that you can check out for the less than a movie ticket a month. That keeps things going here. And also we have a Zazzle store where you can buy merchandise that has the Revolution, a really cool logo on it. Those are just some of the ways that you can help generate funds for us to stay on the air. And also my books are on barbarajeanlindsey.com. That's BARBARAJEANLINDSEY.com. And you can pick up my books there and find out where I'm going and all the events I'm going to be going to. I will be going to Las Vegas to the 5D events coming up very shortly in March. I'm really excited to be a part of that. And we'll give you a link to that later after the show. So I think that's it for that. And without further ado, welcome to the show, Z Budapest. And I would like to give our listeners a little bit of a background about you. And,
Okay.
All right. So,
Hello. Oh, hello. And hello, Los Angeles, where I became a woman. I'm so grateful for Los Angeles. I was a refugee from the East Coast, and the constant flus and the constant bad weather and just everything good came from California. And I said, I'm not going to sit here and wait for it. I'm going to check it out. And I hitchhiked. Back then, it was still okay. I hitchhiked from Toronto all the way down to LA in 3 rides. The first ride, I took a bus to Toronto. And in Toronto, I flagged down the first car that came, a little VW with a young man in it. And he took me all the way down to San Francisco. And then I hitchhiked one more time there. And he was just driving around in a Camaro. And I said, well, what are you doing? He says, I'm retired and I'm bored and I like to take people places. I said, well, I'm one of those people taking to LA. And
what year was that?
Pardon me?
What year was that?
1970.
Oh, wow.
70 is now gone, but I was so lucky that I caught the best decade. The best decade in California was the 70s.
I love the 70s myself.
That was the best music, and everybody who was young treated each other with great joy. Oh, another one who was young. Being under 30 was fabulous. Mm-hmm. It was the way you recognize your allies, your generation. And old people hated us because, of course, we were a community. And this guy who was my first ride from Toronto, he was going to either go back to he was on furlough or something, and he was going to Vietnam, which back then we called it Nam, back to Nam, and but he didn't want to. He really hated it, and his father was a judge, and he just suffered because it's going to hurt my father if I don't go back, and then I have to go AWOL, and oh no, and there was a lot of stories about what it's like to be in Nam and being an American soldier. He was not cut out for that at all. And then we picked up somebody hitchhiking who was actually a refugee from the army. He was on vacation and he decided never go back. And they had a huge, big, long discussion about both sides, should he not. And he was decided, but my ride, I forgot his name. Never mind. Nice guy number one. He went back to his unit in Tacoma, and I just went up. I said, fine. And then I stuck my thumb out. It's just the second time since I was picked up. So that was really amazing. And then this retired guy comes along with good music, good grass, no hassles. He was just bored and he liked to pick up somebody, hear a story. It was very interesting.
Yeah, there was a lot more deal of trust back then, right?
Yes. Even though there were rapes around and attacks on women, but I knew that I was watched by my ancestors. Hungarians have a big belief that whoever dies in your family and says your name as a last word on the last breath essentially signed up to be your personal protector as long as you live. And that was true during the revolution in Hungary, and it was true all the way on my second exodus from the East Coast. And I think she protected me very strongly. And then little things, omens happened, leading me on, and I'm good at reading omens. Like there was this scene when we arrived to the beach, and I wanted to step out there and just feel if this is the right place for me to be at. And I stepped out, and the beach was totally empty, and I was the only one on it. I sank to my knees. My ride went on elsewhere. From Santa Monica, I knew how to get anywhere. And two little girls, about 4 or 5, two little girls appeared out of nowhere, and they looked around. They knew they were not supposed to come alone on the beach. It was written all over them. They were guilty as hell if mommy finds them. So they saw me, they looked at each other, and they started pretending that we're together. So they planted themselves close to me. It could have been that I was their mommy. And I had my omen. I had a place here. I was needed. This is the proper place to stay. And as a mother, it was very clear that what the kids were doing. And then when they finished, they tried to just take all the water out of the ocean. That's what they had done incessantly, like for hours. And then they realized, no, it's not going to happen.
So you felt like you were at home.
I just laughed to myself, and I thought, yeah, it's all right. It's a big goal. It's about a big goal. And but to see the little faces, how they focused and yeah, get another bucket full of it, and it's still not left over. I loved them. I thought that was great. And then all of it, was about growing a movement, to and have a big goal, and have faith in it, and have fun while you are doing it. That was one of my big goals in life. When I was born, I didn't cry. And the doctors wanted to spank me, and my mother went, "You touch that kid, I kill you." And so they never spanked me. And I laughed, smiled a lot, but I did not cry. And I think it's because when you come in, you see the end, you see the whole thing. Mm-hmm. And if it's not too frightening, or you're not too frightened easily, then you don't cry. Mm-hmm. Mama cried a little bit because it was a too long birth. It was just too long. But I was the first child, and she didn't get pregnant another 13 years. Wow. So there was a half brother from her actual second marriage. Mm-hmm. So and then she had one more marriage after that.
So you were born in Budapest, and then you had quite a journey to get out of there to California.
Yes, but remember that we used to be nomads. Mm-hmm. And we are kind of a new arrivals in Europe. They still treat us like we are from Asia. Yeah, we are all from the Far East, But no, we were just nomads like everybody else. And Attila the Hun made himself famous because he invented insurance. All the Goths and Visigoths, everybody was going around trying to frighten a community that had money by burning down the less wealthy community totally, and say, "We come back here next year, we want a pile of money from you, or this is what's going to happen." And that worked, and I thought that's insurance, actually. It's a steps of insurance. And yeah, it was an amazing thing about being nomads, and then all of our culture is sort of still, we eat still very, very much the kind of foods we used to cook in a bograch, which is essentially a cauldron that they took with them wherever they were taking the herds. And it was about having thousands of wild animals, or real domesticated ones, lots of horses. We were excellent horse people, and we could win a skirmish by sitting backwards on our horse and shooting ahead of us, but in actuality, we were going the opposite direction. Because this, we could shoot very far, we would still hit the mark, but we would not be close enough for them to retaliate. And we invented the kind of bow and arrow that was bent, and it just did better than the regular one, you know?
Mhm.
And many things are told to us about how great we were. Like Attila invented the bathtub. He ordered that, he was famous for being very clean, really, very clean.
It can't be all bad then if he invented the bathtub, because for me, the bathtub is my place, you know?
Well, if you are a nomad, you have a bathtub that folds up like a chair. And what was the top part is a very big skin of a cow.
Oh.
It was a cow skin, or whatever the biggest they found. And they put the water in there, and you took your bath, and then you poured out the water and just collapsed it like a chair, put it on your wherever you carried stuff. I was always amused that we invented the bathtub, the traveling bathtub. Also the powdered meat, the powdered meats, because all you had to do is, as you were traveling and running, add water, and then you put on whatever you could, whatever it was around. Maybe you killed one of your animals and put that in. And that's goulash. People still sell it and eat it.
Are you
Except,
still?
yeah.
You stay planted in one place.
Yes, and it was around the same, the 40th and I think 44th, what you call them, these lines that go around the earth. Yes. We would get there, and we would find there from a previous visit rested horses. And we would leave our horses there because they were valuable. We didn't want to hurt them. And we went on the new horses. And so we could move large groups of warriors 11 miles a day.
Wow.
Which is a lot of, just by that, and just changing horses. I'm not in favor of the nomadic lifestyle because most people by then were settled. We were kind of late coming into Europe. And when the Magyars came in, Attila already had his glory days, and when he died, the whole thing fell apart. And when the Magyars came in, we kind of claimed him as our forerunner.
And so then you had to, how old were you when you had to leave the country?
16.
16.
I left at 16. And that was because we had a revolution against the Russians. And I was involved in that. I was at the demonstrations. I was part of the whole massive amount of people. I felt that high. There's a big high in it, you know. I mean, people mass like this around one single goal. Ruski, go home. That was what it was. That's what we wanted. And we were the cuddled children of the Soviet occupation. Thanks, Mars. Thank you so much. Excuse me a moment. Oh, Marcy, this is delicious. A little coffee for the old lady. Ah, yes. God, I love coffee.
Don't forget to talk about your book.
Yes.
What? Do you want to talk a little bit about that journey, or we have so much to talk about here today? So.
I know. Well, I wrote about it. I wrote about it in my autobiography, and I kept always notes. And actually, I was a child prodigy in Hungarian.
Well, see, I
when I left,
read
I was
that.
a child prodigy. There was a national literary contest, youth contest. I was only 14. And I have written something which was kind of funny, and it attracted a lot of attention. And I said, I just send it in. It's already done. I send it in. And I won. I won. And they didn't believe that I wrote it. So they wanted me to come and interview me in person so they could be ascertain that my style could be so mature. Well, I told them that I'm an only child and I read all the time. I mean, I read everything all the time. And that makes your style mature, you know, because you absorb grown-ups thinking, grown-ups methodology, the grown-ups just it goes through me. And I've been ravenously reading since I was 8 years old. Before that, yeah, as children may, but at 8, I just flamed. I read everything that we Hungarians must translate the great ones from other languages because nobody would be able to ever give it to us in their own, I mean, in our own language. Nobody speaks Hungarian on the planet except the 10 million or so women and men. And it was, and these recent events on the Trump, and thank God, thank you, take him very far away. It brought it all back. It brought it all back. The Ruskies are coming. My God, the Ruskies were in the Oval Office. I sobbed uncontrollably when I saw that. I just sobbed. I said, I don't know where I can run away to. This was the furthest thing I could think of to get away from the Ruskies. And I'm not proud that it's not the people. The people are always nice and they suffer equally with the oppressed. But the fact that Americans are so gullible that they allow an empty shell just because he was tall. My explanation is, why was he elected? Because he was the tallest candidate. That's why. Americans always elect the tallest candidate. That's just so. If we find a woman who is a 6-footer or more, she'd be elected to anything she wants. It is a longing for Big Daddy. It's a longing for maybe some Vikings. Because Trump had a mommy who came from Scotland, and that's where the Vikings lived when they were around. And she didn't like Trump either. She didn't like that boy. So nobody should. It was a deeply flawed psyche, that guy. And there is no therapy that can help it. They're just going to be till it croaks.
I saw your tarot reading on your YouTube channel. I saw your tarot reading on your YouTube channel.
Yes.
Yeah.
I read it, and it's still unfolding. I go back to that reading because I remember I predicted 3 queens would emerge.
Right.
Yes. So I think one of them is Tracy Abrams. She leads from the outside, but she leads. She is powerful and so beautiful and wild. There is some natural wild energy in her, and she is not doing it for ego. It's not ego for her. She has really a sense of history, which I also have, and I can recognize it in others. Not enough people have sense of history, but you can't have it unless you know history. If you're not interested ever about the past, you'll never be able to tell the future. So the second one is, of course, Nancy Pelosi. And I'm waiting for the third one. Do you have a suggestion? No, Kamala Harris. Kamala Harris. That's the third one, yeah. So now he will go to jail. That's the next one for Trumper. and God has never allowed it again. But I make sure next time I reincarnate that I will say, okay, and then I want to see the whole picture, who's going to be in the. I'm not interested being in politics. I'm an artist and a writer, and actually deep down, entertainer. Because what I love about art is that you teach best with it. You just do. People remember what you, if they can laugh about it, if they can talk about it. It has to be more than, no, here, this,
Right.
And I'm in love with that kind of teaching. And this is why I created the movement, because each and every time I talk to people, they got it. Because I gave it to them totally honestly. There's no ego involved except my safety. Yeah, that's a big deal. But the women heard me. And then I know enough about world history that I could point to places where female leadership created better countries and happier countries and deeper science. And ultimately, we have to flip this American idea that you live your life to make profit for somebody. You may get pittance and then profit, big one for somebody else. Must be tall. Just a tawsome person, that would be good.
No, but the corporate, it's just so it has no spirit to it in some ways. There are some that aren't, but there are many that aren't. If it's profit, it's the queen and the king and everything. It's you've already lost before you started. So, but there's a new way coming. I really feel there's a new way coming.
Yeah, and that's our children, and mostly grandchildren. Our grandchildren have sped ahead. Yeah. I have a little girl called Maya. She's 7. I went to her first year celebration, her birthday. She made the first year. And there she was barely knowing how to speak or walk properly. She was still a little bit duck-like, She walked like a dog, but she wasn't a duck. And she went and looked into the grown-up's eyes and took it in her hands and put it in another grown-up's hand that she already contacted, and then looked back at them and left. And in time, age 1, she connected all of the attendees, all the parents and the children into one beautiful circle. I was looking at it just bawling and said, oh God, it's a mini me. I have come back already. I mean, that's fabulous. And everything she does, she's very good at. We went through The Princess, which I was deadly against. I said, that's not. I gave her fleets of cars for presents. And books and music.
Oh yes.
She always went to sleep with CDs playing. And now she's 7, and we have gone away from those, and now she's thinking about becoming a writer or a traveler or a scientist. So we're coming close to there, but at this age, at 7, we used to initiate little girls into spirituality and give them their own sacred name. The Catholics still do it. I remember at 7, I had to go to a first communion and was given another name. They didn't want to take the name I wanted because that was a pagan name. She wasn't even in the Bible.
Of course, not surprised.
I don't care. I want to be Emma Shed because that's a real ancient Hungarian female name of a leader. And no, you have to be Catherine. I have to St. Catherine. I don't want to be St. Catherine. I want to be Emma Shed. So whatever. I didn't take too much communion after that. I lost it about the church. They were very mean people. And they didn't hurt me because I was a paying student. And that's very important in the Catholic Church. If you give them money, they be nice. But my best friend was a freebie, not really, because her older sister worked for the nunnery for free, so she was paying with labor, but they treated her always shabbily and hit her and punished her. And they lost me on that one, my best friend Eva. Anyhow, walking around in memory lane, I must tell you about what I've been doing in my COVID time.
Yes, let's do
In
it.
the COVID times, I decided to take a look what I was putting away for later, writing stuff for later, because I knew that at that time there was no opening for any of my themes, which is celebrating joy, celebrating a life, a point of view on life, which says the purpose of life is joy
Yeah.
and love, and we are in paradise. When you die, you're not going to go to paradise. You just came from it. You blew it there. So then I don't know what you can hang out, but I don't think you can grow apples.
Don't we try to complicate everything when it's so simple, right?
It is simple.
Mhm, mhm. I have some photographs. Do you mind if we share?
Yes. Let me see. Let me see them.
Okay. All right. Let's see if I can do it. Wait. Here we go. Let's go here. And let's go here. And here I go. Yay. So we'll go.
Yeah, it's no, this laurel leaves that I wear to rituals is from the Greeks. They used to give it to poets, and the Virgin, the Vesta virgins wore it, and it belongs to an ecstasy tradition of spirituality, and I believe that spirituality should be ecstasy without drugs, just with dancing and community. But they did do drugs. They had something called kirkean, which was mellow, deep red Greek wine with spices and probably a little LSD. Because they had visions and they saw the goddess, and they never be the same, because it's really different when you in real life you experience a miracle that will never leave your memory, no matter how dreary your every day is. So that's one picture.
And
I love that picture.
I love this picture. I think it's my favorite.
Is it?
Yeah, because
there's not a speck of makeup on me, not even on my lips.
It looks like you found your peace. You know who you
Yes.
are. You
Yes.
peace, and so many people are looking for that.
And mind you, this takes place in the redwoods, in a sunken kind of a well, it's 15 feet down and around. It's not a game. It's not for games. Native Americans built it for ritual. And I have the good fortune to be allowed there with my ladies, and we can make fire there because it's 15 feet low. And fire, if you are just, if it's just a few feet down, that's not good enough, but 15 feet, it's good enough.
Yeah.
And we have nice big fires, and we used to sleep there with the fires to make sure that she went to sleep, and lots of joy, having clean air, and I love that place. I've been there 26 years doing rituals with women and girls. And
when was your first feeling with the goddess? When did the goddess really come into your life? Was it your first breath, or when did you really say, hey, there's something to this?
When I understood what my mother was sculpting. My mother was sculpting always goddesses and mythology moments. And the first thing that she made is a big green angel, which I have here in this house. And Mama was very talented. She could astral travel. She would tell us stories who she met last night, who was dead, and brought back brought back messages to the living. And I thought, I don't think anybody else's mother does this at night, but I didn't mind being different. It was just an amazing woman to be the daughter of. Overshadowed all of us. When I went back to visit her, I was not the Budapest anymore. I was Mashika's daughter. Did you meet Mashika's daughter? She's in the corner over there. And I was like, oh yeah, she made that too. You know? She did all this show and then she made a girl.
You're the
and
masterpiece, I'm sure.
And she was always funny, always funny. And when I shared the moment with her, that moment transformed by the time we went home and she was retelling what happened. And didn't take much, just a little tweak here, tweak there, and it was hilarious. And when we thought it was funny, but by the time we got home, it got hilarious. And that's good writing. That's writing. My father called it lying because he didn't understand how that works, but I did. I mean, that's what all writers do. You get something real and then you build around it a little this, a little that, and boom, you highlight its punch. You bring out its spirit.
Right.
And so I could do that. But, oh yeah, now that was me when I got busted.
Oh, I want to hear that. I'm sure our readers want to hear that too. It's such a beautiful picture of you. You look at home there. You look.
I know. And I was happy, even though I was facing a trial.
Right.
But, and my hair started to get white in it. That's when it started getting white. What happened was then a policewoman set up an appointment with me and I arrived and she was waiting and I got into my store. This is just the back part where we kept the extra stuff. And there was cat shit right underneath my reader's chair. Cat shit. Now, I did not have a cat. No, not there, not in my house. I had a dog. I'm a dog person. And I didn't want to read. I said, no, I don't want to do it. It's too stank. It just stinks. I don't like this kind of a smell. And she said, oh, I help you clean it up. Suddenly she was far too eager. Any normal woman would have said, yeah, it does stink. I come back some other time, you know?
Exactly.
No, but I said, well, why not just make another appointment? No, I thought, and then this was it. That's what brought me down. I thought that I can trust feminist women more about keeping their appointments. Mm-hmm. That hit me in the honor department. Hungarians are very clean in the honor department. We don't break our word. We don't promise things we don't do. And I'm sure many of them do, but I don't. It turned out that we cleaned up, both of us cleaned up the cat shit. It was still horrible. It seemed like the only way I can get rid of this woman if I just do the reading, damn it. And so I did, and her significator was the devil. So I said, now, is your job having to do with bondage? She fainted. She had to steady herself. Just so felt. And I just nailed everything, and I was eager to finish it and went through it, and she thanked me very much, and actually she started respecting me. So by the time we went to a trial, she was not really a good accusation. There was nothing phony about I did for her. I did not lie to her, like usually these banco artists get money. I just got my $10, which is what I charged back then. And as soon as she left, two plainclothes policemen came and arrested me. And
what year was this?
Arrested me for fortune telling, which had been
what?
In 1975,
right?
No, that was the trial. This
Oh,
was in 1972. It was just a year after my store opened.
wow.
And it turned out there was a law against advertising anything to do with psychic abilities and da 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 da. And there, indeed, I had a little piece of paper pinned to the wall saying we do readings here for $10. And that's really what they used to bury me. But what it was really about to us was that this is the first time a feminist witch is facing a law that's unjust and was created against roving bands of gypsies back in the day when we had the gold rush in California.
Mm.
And it was still on the books, and they used it against psychics and water finders and uniting lovers and uniting lost objects with the owners. And it's a fat big paragraph about what's all against. And then they said it's inherently fraudulent to do this. And so it was handled by the Banco department. And the Banco department doesn't know anything about spirituality. In my case, there was nobody complaining. They didn't have a complaint to follow up. There was no victim. There was nothing. It was all done above the, except that little piece of paper that did advertise. And they hit me with that. So we discussed this with Marge Buckley, who, hi, Marge, if you hear this, thank you. Marge was a feisty little gal, and she said, well, you have to decide, what do you want? If we get out of, if we just, they dismiss it or something and we pay the fine, this law will stand for some more years. But if we lose, which is harder to do because it feels bad, and I'm not the kind of person who looks for punishment. She says, we could go after the law itself. It would take time, but we could defeat the law. And I said, okay, I take that on. I'm an Amazon. I'm a descendant from Hun. And so we did, and I did lose. And it took 9 years of appeals. And as the women started coming out of law schools, as they passed the bar, they showed up at Buckley's office. I said, what can we do? And she said, now you go cut your teeth on the appeals on this case, on the Tarot case. Okay, so I don't even know how many women worked for pro bono as their first job, but it took us 9 years, and we did defeat the law. Yay. And you know what? Because the Supreme Court had Rose Bird on this time. Jerry Brown appointed her, and she was on the California Supreme Court. And she saw this law that it's inherently fraudulent, and she says, what nonsense, and just dashed it off and trashed it. And I won, but by that time I lived in Oakland and I had enough of this struggle. But it was because of all the help I got from the feminists that we could defeat the law. Now you look around in California, everybody's reading cards on the lawns, on the this, and everybody says how much it is. It's the police department learned one thing: don't attack these people because they fight back and they win. And it's in Oakland. This coat is the traditional coat of people who, for Sunday, people who guard livestock. And look at the yonis on both shoulders. It is just a beautiful.
It is. It is.
It's always very feminine. If you see the whole coat, you would see how gorgeous it is. And this one is just because I found that gown and I said, okay, I needed a priestess gown and I want it.
It's a priestess gown. It just truly is. It just really, I love the sleeves. It's just gorgeous.
It's a huge big sleeve, and I was proud of it. I think I got it in recycled bin, which was all. But look at my necklace. I love that necklace. I wish I knew where it went. It was a wonderful necklace. And then the other one was made by my mother, and that's Anubis. Anubis from the Egyptian mythology, and the dog, the sacred dog who accompanies the souls from one existence level to another. And because I was a dog person, I used to wear Anubis. And behind me, the oleanders, which are poisonous. But in my country, the peasants are in love with it. And they have them in pots. And before winter, everybody drags their big pots of oleander inside the house because oleanders don't like winters that we have. And anyway, it's one of the greatest joy in my life to see them everywhere. And but in my country, they are like really, really respected. And people are proud of how it survived the winter. And then come springtime, they drag it all out again and give it sun, and then joyous. Just touching it is bad for you. If you fall into the leaves naked, you get killed. It's so poisonous. It's just horrendously poisonous. But, and this is iconic. This is after I found guilty, when I lost the trial. I went to the beach and stood on these rocks and talked to the wind. I learned that from my mother. We didn't have any occult supplies for her, we were poor. And she was the wind. Because wind is the breath of the ancestors. It encircles the planet. Everybody who ever lived is in it. And if you call somebody through the wind, they come. And I called down the wind mother to move patriarchy away from us and help the women to rise. I love the wind like this, because I know where it comes from. You can embrace it and talk to it. The wind I don't like is that blows every which direction and breaks windows and levels trees. These are just the passionate sea breezes. Nothing. And I lost my eyebrows. No more eyebrows. Listen. Before I forget, and Marcy just reminded me, it's something very important I want to talk to Los Angeles audiences.
Okay, we have about.
I live in my bubble where I live. There are seniors. I live in a senior community. I have my own house, which is in reverse mortgage, so I don't have to worry about living on the street. But in COVID, I went through my drawers. And I had time finally to look, what have I written that never was exposed to anything? I found a lot of stuff, very good stuff. I read it again and I said, gee, I was smart back then. And, I don't expect to be impressed by my young writings, but I was. And I looked at it, I said, no, I don't need an agent. What I need is a manager who I can present what comes out from my drawers. Amongst them, there was a lesbian musical. Among them, there was a sci-fi novel. Amongst them, there was something that would be perfect on Netflix. The last one I watched was Good Girls. Mm-hmm. And they just went on and on and on. And I thought, oh, yeah, it's still interesting, but it's too much. Well, when does it end? It didn't. It went on 2.5 weeks. Every day I had like a good bite of it. And I found something just like that about me living on the East Coast as a housewife. And then it goes on my nerves. And the writer wants to write, but there's not much to write about. And then the voice in me says, you have to live. And this is good, this is wonderful, but now you have to live, get hurt, and learn and engage with your times. So I became a peacenik. And then just showing my steps, how I ended up in LA and how there I found a community of women and started staffing on Crenshaw, the first women's center. And what was that like and what kind of women came through there. And I had enough details to make it interesting all along. And I thought, wow, this is sheer Netflix material that could go on easily 2 weeks. So, so I need a manager who would look through this treasure list and say, okay, what do we do with this? What do we do with that? And then farm it out to the appropriate people. Also, I have this incredible urge to bring to public consciousness, in other words, get it produced, Baba Boogie and the Berkeley Broads. Baba Boogie is my other great character that I invented, and she is a reluctant immortal.
Oh,
And she cannot die unless she passes down her wisdom to the new generation.
Wow.
And it's juxtaposition with the Berkeley Broads, who were named Broads when they were in jail because they get hosed down in a peace demonstration, and that really moves your body. And they end up, the 4 women, in the same jail cell together. And there they promise each other to stay good friends and then follow them with the different things. The first episode I wrote out is how they found Bin Laden and punished him in different segments, how little girls come and study and they are all bound and gagged. They cannot complain, because that bothers them every time young girls study. And then dykes on bikes come by and and just grooves them out to the point where he faints. And then they roll him up in a rug and dumped him on 101 somewhere. And then he gets found. So they don't kill him, but that was when he was still alive. This is what I see I want to do, this juxtaposition of mythical and reality, but with humor.
Yeah.
And killing with humor,
Right.
or elevating with humor, but to use these characters that people already know who they are. And political satire, oh God, that's what I want most of all.
Yeah. Well, how's the best place for someone to reach you? If who's ever.
Yes, I would like to give that number to you, but
do it.
Okay, but not in the show, because then I get anybody who hates witches call me, and I don't want that.
Let them do that.
I don't want any haters. So if anybody would have any clue how to move out from my bubble into a mainstream where my life work that I had not shown before, I wrote sacred books mostly because that was more urgent. But now that's going on fine.
We're going to talk about your sacred books right after the break. But for right now, I love where this is going. And I am in LA. I do know a few people, and maybe we could work something out, or any of our listeners, we could have them contact me, and then I could bring it to you. That feel better.
Yes, Norma, that would be so blessed, because I'm in Alderville. This is old people all around them. We don't know each other. This is all we do. When we see each other, this is it. This is how we.
Right.
And I need to get into mainstream before I die, and I'm 81 now. So I have to get on this. There's no waiting. And don't anybody say that, you have to start from the beginning. I already done that. I already achieved my mission. This is now.
Fun. This is the part that you get to really express yourself again with freedom. That's how you started this loop, right? Was freedom. You're going to end this loop with some freedom as well. Or with you being true to yourself, right?
Yes.
All the way.
Yes. And my spirit demands this. My spirit says we work very hard, we sacrificed a lot. Now it's time to play, because your gift is playful.
Yes.
And so it's true. I don't believe in boring people. I'm not too verbose, but I need a manager who knows a lot of good people and somebody who allows me to take a chance
Right.
on the work I have already done.
Right.
I don't have to create anything new. I mean, after I found my musical, I went like, what? Next thing I know, it's going to be an opera. I hope not, because I've forgotten what I have written. I mean, I just put them in my drawer. And
Right.
the one that is one very dear to my, and we have not yet found it, but that's the one I do remember. It's about the Liderts. The Liderts is a Hungarian, actually it's Central European legend about a creature, a shapeshifter who nourishes on natural gas, and they are attracted to the lonely, the sad and the lonely. And then they become what would make them happy. And they can become either sex, they can become anything, and they reward them, and then they get happy, and that's when they have to leave because they are only there as long as they are sad and lonely. And I think that's also a nice kind of a joke, because once you get happy, you want to stay that way, but they have to learn how to do that without the leaders. And I know this Marcy has typed it up for me. Back then, I remember seeing it, and I cannot find it, but it was, COVID is not done yet. We are still on lockdown, so I must find it. She came now this weekend to help me with it.
We'll put a cold light around it or sun around it.
Yes, and it's just terrifically funny because and then the main character brings the leaders to New York City, and he looks out on that twinkling, beautiful big light, and then he says, "Oh, so many lonely, so many unhappy." And he's very happy about it because my work is
wow. Well, I just think this is so I love this hat. Where was this? You have this big, beautiful hat. And I like
that hat. That hat is a story. My dear friend and ordained high priestess Lydia gave it to me, and I didn't have it too many times. But you see, in my life, a hat like this has a hard time because it's too tall. It makes me too tall. And I cannot wear it in my car. I have to only wear it in certain circumstances. And this was one of those circumstances. It was Halloween.
Oh.
And on Halloween, I can put it on and can wear it on the street. It is awesome.
It is awesome. It really is.
Yeah. And you feel different when it's on your head.
Yeah. And we're just about.
These are my books, some of them.
And after break, we'll talk about all of your sacred books. I mean, you are just an amazing woman who've changed the world in such a positive ways for women everywhere. And then you're an artist, not only with your books and with your words, but now would you call yourself more of a Renaissance woman in a way too? Your music and art and dance and beauty and poetry and sculpture and
a lot of philosophy. The book that I'm contemplating to write, if I ever make sure that these children have somewhere a good lifestyle, that they get handled, I would like to write a book about how patriarchy is really unnatural. No other species has patriarchy on the planet. No other. There is none. Every species is around the mother and the babies, and that makes the first tribe. And even in English, country comes from the word cunt. So you are country people when you come from the same cunt. And just show, like now, today, 35 countries are led by women. You will see that their example is so overwhelming. They are flowering, they are prospering. But the first step is always no more wars, because war there is no just war because it's murdering our children, our sons. Our sons murder some other woman's sons. Now, if just the women get together, nobody sends their kids to murder anyone.
Right.
So that's the end of the wars. If the mothers have enough power to say, no, we're not going to fight for oil. We're not going to send our sons to die for an old man just to make more money. You cannot kill our sons for any reason, and we won't kill your sons for any reason. And that's called world peace. And mothers can do that. Males cannot do that. It's not possible.
I totally believe that. I totally want that to happen. I've written about that as well, and I just feel really strongly about that. It has to end.
It has to end. And all that money, most of our taxpayer money goes for this edifice of teaching our kids to kill. So they come back from wars and they have no skills. What do? Well, I can kill 14 different ways. Sorry, this is civil life.
Well,
and
they take
and then the war comes home. Like the siege of the Capitol is when the war comes home. There were lots of veterans among those people. They wanted to have that high again, that blood thirst was there. And a lot of people wanted to be in the movies. And this was like a movie. Eventually, of course, lots of video was made. But males are attracted to whatever other males are respecting. And if you can convince a male, like a son, males are sons. That's all there is. I mean, sons and daughters. Even with my fervent hatred of patriarchy, I would still not rise against killing other mothers' sons. Mm-hmm. I mean, what is that about? Mothers are the same no matter where they live. Mothers do not dream of their sons become killers. Mrs. Dahmer did not dream about her son eat little children from the fridge. These aberrations must be seen as medical problems. And women can create a world where we talk to each other and we come to some kind of a good end. We can easily convince each other not to. Don't send your son to kill my son, okay? Yeah, Gertrude, that'd be fine with us.
And done, right? Done and done.
Yes, sorry. And that's never going to be a problem. And we take all that money and create paradise where it should be created. It's here. But you have to mother. You don't have, governing must be mothering. Mother the country. Mother your commitments. Mother your people. And with that, those of us who will rise would lead the way. The others would say, hey, so-and-so Mrs. that created there a nice life there for everyone. I think we can do even better. And then we start the competition towards the positive, which is immediately there will be bakeouts and there will be contests who grew the biggest pumpkin. And the whole thing can be absorbed from the best from our existing culture into a future culture where killing is not honored. Right. And I would say that we have seen enough killing on television too. It's glorified to the point that people actually, young boys want to be on TV playing killers, but they have a bloodlust also. Mm-hmm. They kill just to see what it feels like. Remember that? That was a case. Mm. You were saying, I shut up now for a while.
No, it's good. I thought we were going to go on a break, but I don't think it's happening today. So I think we get to just go on.
All right.
My first time that's ever happened in 6 years. So.
Well, the goddess time is giving us a long leash.
You're welcome to bring get a glass of water or take a sip, and then.
No, I got no coffee. I'm getting high on coffee.
All right, good. Well, I'm going to have a little sip here.
With a little bit of honey.
Yeah, a little bit of.
Well, let me talk to you about the first 4 here.
Okay. Oh, wait, it is break. It is breaking. Darn. Yeah, we are going to break.
Okay. All right.
You know when we're back about 4 minutes after.
All right.
Thank you. Don't go anywhere, anybody. We'll be right back.
It sounds like somebody's choking. Okay. I'll be back. Time to have some cake. Oh, old woman is. Hello. Hmm? 2 days ago? 3 days
Well,
ago?
that's trying to find found where I can watch it.
Oh.
It took a while, and then I just had to contact, the coven and whoever was online that wanted it. Yeah, you need a publicist. You're going to be live on, and nobody knows about it.
Because I barely remember myself. I mean, I thought it was weedy, and I put it here. Weedy.
Plant and astrology. Join Mona and her guests on an adventure of a feral hippie as she touches the earthly radio waves 5 days a week at 2 p.m. Monday to Friday on Studio B at Revolution Radio.
Be evasive, but that doesn't mean that they're telling the truth as opposed to fiction. And Genesis chapter 6, verse 4, and there were kind of also after that. When the children of God came to also the daughters of men, they came up in a giant before initially, and sons of God plural. They weren't talking about Jesus coming down. No, that's right.
I'm Steve Crawford, host of Factor Theory Live. Join me every Sunday night from 10 p.m. till midnight Eastern Standard Time on Revolution Radio at freedomslips.com. Check it out. Hello, my name is Mr. Rowe. I am the host of Reality Extraction, Revolution Radio at freedomslips.com. I utilize logic, intellect, and magic to methodically atomize, vivisect, analyze, examine, study, scrutinize, and extract an essence of reality from a fog of illusion and confusion. You can find me on Studio B every Thursday, 1700 hours Pacific Time. That's 8 p.m. Eastern. No topic taboo, no subject too strange. I strive to take a neutral standpoint during the dissection of the topic at hand. That's Reality Extraction with Mr. Rowe on Revolution Radio.
Oscar's free. That's just a evil cortex looking for an answer it doesn't have. See? Even your brain knows what's true. Causing us to fear things that do not at present and may not ever exist. That is near insanity. But do not misunderstand me. Danger is very real, but fear is a choice. We are all telling ourselves a story. You're listening to Revolution Radio and freedomslips.com. 100% listener-supported radio.
opinions expressed on this radio station, its programs, and its website by the hosts, guests, and call-in listeners or chatters are solely the opinion of the original.
Yes.
They do not necessarily represent the opinion of Implant.com, its staff, or affiliates. You're listening to 100% listener-supported radio, and now we return you to your host.
This is your host, Barbara Jean Lindsey, and welcome back to the Cosmic Oracle Show. We have with us an amazing guest. We have Susanna, well known as Z Budapest, with us this evening, sharing all of her many years of wisdom with working with women's spirituality and pave the new road, the new way for all of the women to liberate them and have them have their freedom of voice and to speak and to share and to have a freedom of religion as well, religious freedom as well. She's a freedom fighter. She is the founder of how would you say that, Budapest, if you were to?
Feminist Witchcraft.
Yes.
Feminist Witchcraft.
Feminist Witchcraft, the founder.
Yes, very different from what they knew as witchcraft. And much as it's fascinating, feminist witchcraft has feminist moral values. We don't kill anybody, we don't kill anything. Feminist witches are into elevating the mothers and their children. That's what we do.
I think we're all that, aren't we? Naturally.
Yes. There's no other person on the planet except the mothers and their children. When they say men and women and they are coming from different planets, that's just hiding from reality. What's wrong with you people? If you have a belly button, you came out of your mama, and your mama performed a goddess job, giving life to you, gestating you. She was lending her body for you to reenact the development of our species from a single cell, just kind of create a whole wonderful advanced individual each and every time. And there is the maternal inheritance of all the history that our DNA goes through is in our brains through the maternal inheritance. And that is what unfolds as we grow old, as we become more and more the reason why we came here. We understand more and more about the mission that we have here. And just to know that our species is a cheeky little thing. I mean, we just got here. Mm-hmm. And already we are shaking the rafters of the heavens. We are going, dropping some junk on Mars.
Already, right?
I mean, we've been here minutes compared with the other species. And nobody, not insects, not mammals, not any creatures that are alive on the planet work themselves into this terrible system of patriarchy, when just a few males tell us all what to do, and we are easily deceived. We like to be courted by these so-called leaders. We want them to say what we want to hear, but that's not getting us ahead. That's just bathing in our own lies over and over again. Eventually you have to say, okay, we've done that, let's move on, what else is there? This is paradise, and we are fucking it up, and that's a big problem, to me anyway, because I have grandchildren, I have 2 of them, and my sons are still alive, naturally, and there is no reason anybody should sacrifice their life for just a paycheck. It has to have a meaning. It has to have a meaning why a person cannot have a life as he or she would experience it but it has to be sacrificed and get paid for your living their dream per hour. And then these old, shabby, old, ugly-looking short guys, because they already elected the tallest one. It's only the short ones left.
But do you think that we come in as nurturing, right? We come in with a love for life. We come in as this planet is a living, loving being itself, and we're a part of it. It's a part of us, and that female perspective, right? And that to nurture, and that gets taken away, right? And so we got
it's devalued. The way it's taken away is that it's devalued. I had wonderful two sons who didn't imagine that they are superior to anyone. They were good students. They loved sports. They were slightly artistic. They liked painting and drawing and even a little bit of ceramics. But once my oldest son went to the military, because he wanted to fly. He always wanted to fly. He's a pilot in soul. And my father was also a pilot. I think some of this is also inherited. But poor people, immigrants, parents, we couldn't afford paying for lessons in flying. It cost a lot of money. So he had to join the military in order to become a pilot. And when he came back, he was really racist, and he was also sexist. And not with me per se, but I'm raising a child for the world,
right.
And not for just me enjoying his decency. I want the decency to be enjoyed by the world. And so I realized how that works. It works by keeping women poor. Now, let's imagine a world where all women would get paid for having born female, and as females carry the continuation of our species by creating everyone, the males and the females and everything in between. And for that job, we bleed actual blood every month for a very long time. And our sons do not. Yet our sons make more money than we do, and then we have to adjust to the fact that we are devalued because patriarchy. Flip it into the women have money as soon as they reach 13, let's say. From then on, they would get paid for carrying the possibility of creating humans, even though they're not having babies, and carrying the possibility of developing a world where mothers and children are not expected to sacrifice themselves for profit. And all expenses with menstruation would be paid by the state, because that would be part of the money every female would get. So right here, you would have empowered women who could feed themselves and their babies, and they would feel honored. And now let me just say this. In our culture, we already have some remnants from a time where we honored the women for being women. What are these? For example, opening the doors. These things are not because we cannot open our own doors. These things are done because we are honored for being female. And when it happened to me when I lived in Europe and I got old enough that I was counted as a woman, which happens around 14, 15 or so, they start treating you like a woman. Kissing my hand was very embarrassing for me. I just give me back my hand. But if you remember that kissing a woman's hand is for her work, that is part of carrying out your species that you are part of. In other words, every woman is your mother, even if it's not so, but she is part of that red flow of energy that carries our species and everything about us, even though we just got here. And we brought with us this patriarchy. No, this patriarchy came through religious sources. And there in India, for example, where they have a lot of, the Hinduism has male gods. And the male gods are all powerful, and everybody has to be bowed down. And if they are displeased, they can have a fit, and they can destroy things. And indeed, they come to a point, even in that mythology, where the male gods have a war, and it's happening in full sight of the humans below, but they are so big, and they are just watching them throwing all kinds of weapons at each other. They are watching patriarchy. When finally that delusion fades, then the humans decide, oh, why don't we try it? I mean, it would be great fun to throw that back and forth, the fireballs and everything, and then they would like us more. They would not attack us with that, and the women probably went like, who would grow the rice? Who would grow the good stuff? Who would build? Who would make the civilization fun? Well, that's not fun. Civilization is not fun during patriarchy. First of all, there's very little of it. There's very little of it. Now, the chair, pulling out the chair for women for sitting down, that's a derivative from the throne. The chair is the first throne. And when you pull it out for a lady to sit down first, you are honoring her as a wise woman who is part of this goddess that is all women without exception. And you acknowledging that with a simple gesture, make her feel good, and reminding her that yes, you carry a much bigger load than any of your sons, but they know about it and you get honor for it. Honor goes a long way for women. We really like it. And it doesn't have to do with money. It has to be with being kind to us, and in shorthand, the males that we interact with are saying to us, we honor you, you're a woman, you gave life, you are part of the life force, and without you there is nothing. And when that happens, you feel good. I remember as a little girl, I said, oh gee, I could just honor. Or woman enters the room, all males stand up.
Right.
That's another way to give honor to women. That is still done in higher societies. It's not done in societies where women are not honored. And then the wedding. The wedding is when you kneel down to a woman, offering some symbol of your devotion, and ask her to be your wife, which is essentially, in other languages, ask for her hand. The hand that creates, that makes womanly things, also gives love, that strokes babies, and who heals. So you do that to a woman, not the men so much. I don't think it's happening with them. But this kneeling down is this, when women see that has to be a proposal. And the proposal is simply, could I have your company and bring all your magic with you so my life will be more meaningful and I can express my love for you? That's a good proposal. Yeah. And the women usually say yes once they see the rock, but the rock itself, the diamond, is a symbol of just treasure. He offers the treasure, what he thought a treasure for her, and that she gets to wear that treasure as a reminder that he loves her, and or she loves her. And that is another token of an ancient matriarchy that we have pushed out of existence. And ever since we've done that, one set of sons are killed by another set of sons, and the women weep on both sides. The mothers weep both sides. And who saw that right away? Michelangelo. Remember that statue, Pieta?
Yeah.
The mother is sorrowful, deeply, deeply, deeply hurt. She cannot even look away from her son's body that is dead. In her lap, where all life sprung, is now a dead son. That's a searing, painful picture. But that is the picture what humanity got from patriarchy. That is our truth. In our patriarchy, women are sorrowful and the men must die. And you ask yourself, but to what end? There's no answer. Because they don't govern with wisdom, with foresight, and common sense. All these traits are female traits. Women, most of all, have common sense. Coming out of that comes wisdom. And mothering everything. A woman steps into a room. If she checks it out, looks around, sees a plant, touches the dirt, oh, poor thing, you are thirsty. Here, have some water. It's immediately solving the needs for life. She immediately addresses it. And we have been not taught that we had once made paradise here, but we dug it up by Cook and Crook and our own scientists, and we know now how the goddess was worshipped all over the world. Every country has their goddess. She looked like the people who worshipped her, and she carried these values of honor for life giving, for nurturing, honor for just being female, because it's harder than being a male, much harder. And I think that is worth investing. When women are not dirt poor, you know what we do? Prostitution would be just, hey, why? We have enough.
Right.
We have enough friends, we have enough money, our kids are having fun things, we all get educated. Let's plan a festival.
That's so true. It's so very true.
And then also just recognize that these things are still with us. And we cling to them instinctually. It's not enough to...
Age of Aquarius is going to change that. We are going into a matriarchal cycle once again in a different way.
Yes. I don't so much like to call it matriarchal, because that denotes that it's the flip side of patriarchy. No.
Okay.
Mothering is the verb for leadership. Mother the leadership. Mother everything. Just mother it, for heaven's sakes, and stop killing each other, and let's have a good time here. And why don't you write a good comedy? I love SNL. I just love SNL. Had it not been for SNL, I would have been so bored.
Oh, thank you.
Well, let me call for the manager of Goddess Works. Please come forth, wherever you are. And the only requirement I have is that let's have somebody who has no rage against women. Because if you are angry at women and you do it only because now the field is open now, we can step on the platform, and there's lots of them. When I wrote those things, there were 3 platforms. And there was absolutely not a chance in hell that I would be appreciated on any of them. because the males think of themselves as great artists and great this and great that. And I mean, let me tell you this story about Katinka Kovac. Katinka invented the vaccine against this plague by wanting to have a formula against all viruses, all of them. And that's a very ambitious goal. All the other scientists, males, were just trying to defeat this COVID-19. And she thought, that's not enough. We have to defeat them all. And she was pushed aside because, vagina. Now, how can she have a brilliant idea with a vagina with her all day long? So they pushed her out. And once they played, that was like more and more urgency to get something out. And only after they all burned through the male scientists' bad ideas and narrow approaches, they finally said, okay, let's see Katinka's work again. And there it was. It was perfect. It was elegant. It was working. It was immediate. And that's the first shots that we got in America through Pfizer. The Pfizer one is the one that she invented. And imagine how many more things women invented that was suppressed because they had vagina. I mean, it just blows your mind, the stupidity of men, the utter self-involved. It's all about them ultimately and who got the bigger pee-pee. I mean, it is so boring, it brings tears to my eyes. Not good, not good. I want to live in a more interesting world, whatever's left of my life. Yeah. And there is some good times coming.
There are some good times coming. There are some big changes.
Insist on it. I'm going to go to her and ask her to improve maybe on some acid or something. My auntie, my mother's older sister, was a pharmacist. And back in the 60s, I wouldn't go home. And she said, "Oh, why aren't you coming home?" "Well, there are no drugs there. I'm now smoking weed and I take occasionally acid. And there's nothing at home, plus everything is against the law." Next time I hear my auntie, "Well, you'll be surprised." And then she saw a picture of a Visine bottle, a full Visine bottle of pure acid that she made in a pharmacy, following a French recipe that she found in a French pharmaceutical magazine. Huh? And just copied it up and made me, I said, "Well, will you come home now?" I said, "You betcha. You betcha. I want to have that." And my mom was growing me Acapulco gold in her backyard. And she said, "Well, send me the seeds, for heaven's sake." So I stick it in the dirt here. Okay, I did that. And then I finally come home and I said, "Okay, Mom, where is it?" And she points like this. Well, it grew into a tree. Oh, it was a tall tree, Acapulco gold, in Budapest. It was a tree. I just went, my God. Well, thank you, Mama. I'm coming home every time I can. No, that's mothering a daughter.
That's motherly. I'm going to use that. I think all the listeners are going to use that from now on. There's so much.
Mother your job, mother your friends, mother as much as you want to, because and the way I would set up female leadership, I would have not a vice president, but a co-president. One for the exterior and one for the interior. And they would have each other's backs, but they mother two different worlds. And the singular one leader is very male. It's again a very male idea. And even though Sister Abigail wrote her husband, "When you write the Constitution, don't forget the ladies," he did forget the ladies. It took us it took us many decades to finally get. And the ERA just passed last year. We didn't even hear anything about it. It was like drowned out by the patriarchal, useless bloodlust. And, "Oh, nobody's going to tell me what to do." Yeah, kill yourself. Go ahead. Not a moment to sue. Just go. It's the. I was thinking about people who don't want to wear a mask. Yeah, right. Why don't you just suck it in and get sick and deal with it? But don't come near my people. We don't want your germs.
Let's talk about your books.
Okay.
How's
Yes.
that
Yes.
now?
Let me tell you how it happened. First of all, the Holy Book of Women's Mysteries is not here. Do you have that?
It's the next one. I thought we
Okay.
would start. I was putting them in chronological order, I thought, but let's go.
No.
Okay, which one?
Now, this is the one. Yeah. These two books started as a feminist book of lights and shadows, which I published myself. And we printed it out at Helen's workplace. She worked at a printer shop. And my cover and I showed up there and printed it all night long, one night. And we took it to across the country, actually. And ended up in Boston, and there was the first goddess conference.
Yay!
At the university, and it was organized by a group called the Pomegranate Coven, the Pommies, I call them. And over 2,000 women showed up. That was the very first time. 2,000 women. And it was done at the university, so we had lots of workshops. And there,
what did you teach there?
What?
What were your workshops? What did you teach about?
Feminist witchcraft as mothering religion. And we need spirituality. If you have any kind of social movement, it does have to have an underpinning of spirituality. And without it, the movement doesn't survive. But my movement was this underpinning all by itself, to develop it so that when women walk away from the male god religions where they are hated and discriminated against and not allowed to serve, that they can put something instead. And this is according to what the planet is doing. The 8 holidays, the big time holidays, are the equinoxes and solstices in between. It's 8.
Yeah.
And every move, every time we go around the sun is another kind of identification with the planetary work and the natural world, because everything is attuning to the planet's journey around the sun. Like just right now, it's February, but the larks are singing. I had them in my yard today. And that they are kind of oracular. If they sing, then the spring is coming fast. If they don't, then it means the winter is going to keep going on. And that is part of the mythology of each planetary location. And they have their oracular birds and oracular this and that. And it's all wonderful and imaginative and beautiful. We, on the other hand, like to celebrate wars.
Right. But given this way, it's a connection with the planet, and there's such a harmony, such a peace, it's a beautiful walk. It's not, you're not going against something, you're riding with it, with the wave of it.
And none of it is evil. Just because we don't worship a dead man on dead wood, we're not evil. Whoever crucified human beings was evil, I think. And today we wear it as a necklace. The sign of the cross is like if we were wearing golden electric chairs. It is a torture place and a death place. It's not resurrection. If you want to wear something about resurrection, it has to be a bunny or an egg. It's not a cross. And then being all sorrowful and terrible feeling about all these crucifixions, that was norm back then. It was actual norm. Our species is so poor in mothering that we allowed normalizing crucifixion. Walking down on a road, you would see all these poor people hanging there in different states of disintegration and pain. And it was even a few hundred years later, it was actually equivalent to when they were burning women at the stake, like 400 of them one time in France. They were all doing it at once so that by Christmas, the stench would dissipate from the burning flesh. Imagine that logic, just imagine that. Christmas was not to be solid by what they have done a few weeks before. And killing women is killing your origins. You're killing your origins, you must hate yourself. And men who hate themselves are the most dangerous of them all, because for them, it doesn't matter if suffering comes from their behavior. And it's, again, a mental problem.
Mhm.
I just
So
don't
is
know.
it time to take back our planet?
Yes, yes. We women have to take back our planet and the leadership, because when you look around, everybody who is doing okay on the planet has matriarchal mothering systems. Like take anything, take the ants, okay? True, one woman, one female plant, one ant is making babies, or one bee, queen bee is making babies, and all the workers are females around them. They are running the nursery, they are running the feeding of everyone, they clean the place, they look after their peace, that nobody's attacking them, and they have built themselves an incredible, I mean, they are easily in majority insects. Mm-hmm. And they are all built around mother, we look after you, you make babies. In insect world, it takes just one. In human world, all women who are fertile could be mothers if they wanted to. It's another thing. Just because we're females, we are already doing a big favor to continue the species just by that fact. Mm-hmm. We don't have to have babies because overpopulation is also bad. Overpopulation is a problem, and climate change is part of its outcome. Mm-hmm. So it is business about everybody has to have a baby comes from a world of men who need more expendable lives to kill in wars.
Right. So, and they can use that feminine, that creative energy for projects for art and dance and music and other things. It doesn't have to be just having a baby.
No, and in fact, you know, even women who don't want to have babies should still get paid because they bleed. Mm-hmm. You cannot say, oh, I don't want any babies, I don't want any bleeding, mama, can I get out of this merry-go-round? There is no such thing. I thought about it when I started getting my periods at 12. How do I get out of this, please?
Hey, that's
my
like
mother doesn't have any problems.
Yeah, childbirth is like that too. I was one of those that I think I'm out of here. I'm out, you know, but you can't go around it. You got to go through it, right? You got to go through the door.
And then you learn to be humble, right? Because you are just a cog in something much bigger than you could ever imagine. And that's survival of a whole species. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Exactly. And you want to have a nice species to have this service to. You don't want miserable clogs and creating laws that hurts little children. It's just so much missing. And then, of course, it's a self-feeding system. The criminals and the police. The criminals get away all the time with things. The police believe that they are doing something by catching a few.
Mhm.
So if there's no crime, then there's no need for police. And they'd be mad about that, because being a police is a nice job. You get to shoot whoever you want. There's nobody who calls you on it.
Mhm.
And it's certainly the opposite of mothering. And you are not serving the community by deciding to kill a person just because you got the guns.
Right. So you think part of this is your movement is for women to honor themselves first, right? And if they can
Yes,
do
right.
that, then they can teach their sons and their children to honor themselves and honor their
But
mother.
it cannot be a military. The military must be transformed. Those jobs that they have, surely we can have other things for them to teach our sons. Killing is not a profitable occupation to raise a family on, because killing eventually kills you.
Mhm.
So it's a short-lived life and without any meaning.
Mhm.
So these two books, the Holy Book of Women's Mysteries, I wrote more than we could put into that first kind of pamphlet-ish looking little booklet. And then we finally got it together this was the book People, with the face of a wolf girl.
Mhm.
And then the Woman's Mysteries, the blue, was Wiser, actually. Was it Wiser? And it's a good book, but the woman who was line editing died. So they asked me, do you want to put out the book without line editing? And I thought, well, how bad can it be? And I asked them, well, how bad is it? Well, not too bad. Okay, I said, go. The women will know that, these things happen, that
Mhm.
line editors die. And then it went out, and it's actually my favorite book, especially I love the cover of it, Rhiannon,
It's
with her
beautiful.
words becoming butterflies, and transformation is her message. So I
Right.
love that.
I recommend it to everyone to read Women's Mysteries.
I'm going to print both of them, so we're coming back with it, and this time we are creating the 21st century version, and I'm parking it with Santa Cruz bookstore.
Oh, I love Santa Cruz Bookstore. I had a healing center there for 8 years, and my daughter lives in Santa Cruz. I love Santa Cruz. Are you in Santa Cruz?
I am in Watson, we're a little bit
Oh, I
south.
know where Watson. Yeah, my daughter's in Corralitos.
Yes,
Yeah.
yes, it's all right.
But when I come to visit her, I have to come and visit you.
You do, Barbara, you
I
do.
do. We could just talk for days, I think. And I
We
really,
could take a walk on the beach and
yeah. Are you doing any
my
more
dog
circles?
run around.
Are you are you doing any more circles or leading or?
Well, not right now. I mean, the COVID wiped us out.
Mhm.
The Elizabeth Cary Stanton Colbern was only 2 years old when this hit us, and we cannot meet. I mean, all of these are mummies. My circles are mostly mothers, young mothers with children, and they are hardworking ladies, really hard, and we don't need to risk the lives of anyone.
Right.
So we just every so often we have a Zoom meeting, and just to make sure, are you all right? Are you all right? Are you all right? And then I'm telling them that on midsummer, I like to have everybody show up in masks, and we're going to have a party where we do social distancing. But if everybody had 2 shots by midsummer, I think we can handle it.
I want to be there. I want to be there.
Yes.
To come.
You should really be here. And it's a very lovely group of ladies, just wonderful. And, I was surprised that I thought Women's Mysteries, lesbian women would be deeply interested. No, that's not true. Lesbians are not the predominant common members. It's the mothers, not even lesbian mothers. Lesbians somehow don't, I don't know what's wrong. Maybe because the focus here is not cruising each other, you know,
Right.
and because there's nudity involved in several ritual, sometimes lesbians don't like to take their clothes off. It means something more to them than it means to the witches. For witches, it means freedom and being safe in our own groups. This is possible. But on the other hand, I don't want lesbians to come just to cruise the ladies.
Right.
I don't. We have to have better system to meet each other. And that's another thing. All the bars are gone. There's nowhere to meet anyone, you know?
Well,
and I just gave up on it. I said, never mind. I had lots of fun and I had good number of good lovers. I have wonderful, most excellent ex-lovers in my life. I keep them forever.
I do too.
Yeah, that's the only way to have that. And when I was with men, that never happened. I don't have a single male who was a lover in my life at all. And they come and they go. The women often find you attractive and worthy without sex as well. My Venus is in Pisces, so it's a little hard on me because I'm very affectionate. Very affectionate and pleasure loving.
Let's end our show with these last books. I really want to talk about your work. You have so much work that you've done over the years.
Yes. Okay. Let me go back to here.
Okay.
Now
we have about
in the 80s, I wrote The Goddess in the Office, and that I doubled everything, and it doubled the spells, doubled everything, renamed it Goddess Gets to Work. And now the way it is good. Women Shaping the 21st Century. I stand by that book. Grandmother Moon.
I love that.
I wanted to bring back the moon worship. Remember, back in antiquity, the moon looked much bigger to us. It was much closer. It was when the moon rose, like right now, if you look out, there's a full moon outside.
Right.
Glorious full moon. So when the moon is bigger, it lights, you can read by it. Yeah. I mean, it's really like standing in a silver stream of energy. And I had that pleasure in Malibu when I had my group, the Susan B. Anthony cover #1. We celebrated every holiday on Big Rock. And I cannot tell you how pleasurable that was. It was so deep. It was really being really connected to the heavens. And the heavens, in my mind, always just, that special place. Because everywhere else that we could look, there's no real life anywhere. And then when they find a tiny little something on the Mars, they just go off with great joy. The scientists just kissing themselves.
I love the image. I love the image too.
You like Grandmother Moon like this?
I do. I love it. I just love it.
This is the artwork on this too. Is by Jackie Moore. Jackie Moore is an animal activist, artist, painter, and a friend of mine. We met over Baba Boogie, and we wanted to do. She created the drawing for Baba Boogie, and I was trying to get somebody to take us on with it and shepherd this idea into the industry where it belongs. But in the meantime, I had her do book covers. Yeah, and the book for Moon, it's always so romantic with the moon goddess, and it's always Oh, to me, it's just not her. This is her.
Yeah.
She is a dancer between heaven and earth. She's rooted in everything on earth, and she controls the waters and the weather and the opening of the womb and also the hearts.
Love it. I just love it.
And for that, I just adore her. And in this book, I gathered a lot of folklore and a lot of folk tales.
Mm.
The Summoning the Fates is in cooperation with my students at that time who were astrologists. And we always say, oh, where's the blueprint for life? Well, there is one, and it's in this book. Saturn takes 30 years to make a round from the original point when we were born, and that denotes one destiny. 30 years is a destiny then. So it's 1 till 30, one epoch. From 30 to 60, that's the main part of our destiny, our mission, where we do most of our important work, and we have the urge to do our mission well. And then from 60 to 80, wait, 67, yeah, 80. No, 90, is it? Yeah, it's 90. The third destiny, well, that's when we're supposed to gather the harvests of our labors, acknowledge our work and acknowledge who we are and really come to peace within ourselves. That art that you see here, it's by my mother. That's the triple goddesses, the fates.
Oh, I'm glad we talked about that. I wanted to talk about the triple goddess. We're going to end our show with that. We only have a few minutes left. So.
Oh, we did 2 hours already?
Yes.
Oh, that's great. That's great. I love this show. That's wonderful. So anyway, it's about the every year of our lives all the way till 90. And it explains much. Like certain times you are very restless, you are very much in limbo, you don't like to tolerate ambiguity, what's happening, where am I going? And I have a whole thing about ambiguity. It's part of life. You have to settle in and do something real cool, not to worry about getting ahead, because it will find you. It will find you. The next step will find you. And there's a time when cool it off is also important. So yes, I have written 14 books. 9 of them are still in print, more or less. We bring, what, Kitty? You have something to say? Come here. My black kitty is very verbal. Sita. Basht. Come on, Basht. Say hello to my friend. She says, no, I want you to look at my plate. And then whatever is left, she eats it at night. She comes out and eats and comes back to bed. But it's good because it keeps her from hunting successfully. She cannot catch any birds anymore because I made her fat. I mothered her out of that practice. Not much else works, gee. I tried the bells.
And our listeners can find you. Thank you for being our guest this evening. And it's just been, I think we could go on for days. I can't wait to meet you this summer.
Literally. There's no end. This is a craft.
Yes.
Craft. But I think we touched a lot on many things. And I feel good about it. I feel very good about this.
Thank you, everyone. We'll see you next week. Thanks for tuning in. Love to everyone, and we'll see you next week. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Bye, everyone. Thanks for tuning in.
Stories, weather, cats, intriguing